an initial, yep. We've just had an initial meeting, just kind of get our thoughts together on what we wanted to do. And this meeting is sort of the first of the real meetings, but we're still working out some of the logistics and things that we need to have in place to do the things that we talked about. Uh, so I got a little agenda. The first uh, topic, and this was in the email that we sent out. And my apologies that where it said down the bottom about the GIS community in the Midwest, I totally admit that I used AI to help me write that thing, and it converted Maine GIS to Midwest GIS. So. Uh, it I don't know how it got that, but in any case, I caught the first reference, but I didn't catch that second reference at the bottom when I edited it. So that one's on me. Uh, so anyway, so we wanted to show you and talk about the this QGIS Special Interest Group Forum that John Zastrow, who's on the call here, has started and uh, go through that a little bit. Then we'll have a little open discussion, talk about different QGIS topics that might be of interest to you. And then we'll go try to narrow it down to a topic or a couple smaller topics to focus on for the next meeting so that as we do these, um, we have an idea what the topic will be for the next time so that we can advertise that and we send out an email saying, we're going to have another meeting and we're going to talk about symbolizing layers or whatever, or ways to handle labeling or what have you. So it doesn't preclude us from having other topics during those meetings. I mean, we might have a 15, 20-minute discussion about the topic we've chosen, but then have an open part where we can let the conversation go wherever. Because a lot of times I know um, uh, when you have a question, it's kind of an immediate thing that you don't want to wait a month to find an answer. So if there's something that's boiling that you need to deal with, we want this to be an open forum where people can just come and ask and say, "Hey, what do you know about such and such?" And hopefully amongst us we can collaborate and come up with some ideas, or maybe somebody can quickly show how they've done something. So that's the kind of the agenda for today. So, John, I neglected to ask you beforehand. Would you be willing to kind of go through the forum and talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, I'd
That'd
be
be
happy to.
awesome.
Let me get some things open here and close some other things. Uh, yes, and I do have my robots working here as well, so full disclosure.
You see, Corey Verrill and his other brother Corey is on. We've got two Corey Verrills for some reason.
All right. Let me know when you have a visual. Do I
Nothing
see
yet.
something?
Oh, there it is. I got it now.
Great. Yeah, so I apologize. I am an administrator in this, so if you were to go to this site, you might see fewer controls than I have here, but it should look fairly similar to this. So this is we did set this up. Mike and I worked on this I don't know, right after the last call. And it's a traditional online forum, now considered a little bit archaic, but we thought it's a reasonable place for us to start. It is a free server, I should point out too, and I think we can stay here for a while. We'll find out. but it's a good place for us to get started. So, like Mike mentioned, I think the intention, or certainly my hope for this website is it's a place where we can collaborate in just about anything and get some instantaneous answers back, including collaborating around talk topics, which would be a little bit longer running. Um, so I don't know quite what it'll look like when you log in, but like I said, it should look something like this. You've got some controls here on the left that'll let you sort of access the discussions. The discussions have these sort of topics. These might be considered to be the forums in below here. So if I click on announcements, it's going to winnow down my list to just those topics that are falling into the announcement, what do they call it, category maybe here. I'm not sure. I can see them all if I go back up to all discussions. But we have, just general topic discussions. This is all open for we can adjust these as needed. This is just a starting point. Discussions, staff posting might be the same as announcements. Maybe we need to reduce that down. Questions, I created this as a place to, for example, ask a question. I put an example one on here. So here's what a topic might look like about a particular challenge I'm having. I started answering my own question. Um, I did enable voting, including dislikes if you don't like something. We can turn a lot of this stuff off. Um, if I can find it, there's a way to designate, maybe this is it. That's a like. Let's see. To designate, maybe I can't do it for myself, that the answer that someone posted was the correct answer, the one that solved your problem. You see this in some forums. It's in here somewhere. Um, will be some learning involved in this for all of us, I guess. Um, I also created a topic around presentations, which I thought I had posted something into. Maybe I got rid of it. Uh, where we can maybe propose topics that either A, you'd like to hear about, and someone can then step in and develop some content around it, perhaps, kind of unconference style. Or if you're something you want to particularly present on or gather feedback on, you can propose it here. Maybe we can use that to develop a calendar of talks. And I also created an introduction section where in this case, again, I posted some example content about myself, and it's not example, it's all factual. And including, we are a technology group, and so I put in some information about some technologies that I use. Actually removed some of it because it was getting a little bit lengthy. But this is a start. I should point out that if you are really nerdy and get into this sort of thing, this forum is focused on let's see if I can show this um, using Markdown for formatting. And so you can see I have links here and some bolding and some other stuff, and that's all done in something called Markdown, which looks a little like this if you're not familiar. So you do bullets with asterisks, and here's what a link looks like, square brackets and then round brackets and things like that. This forum will also do code snippets using I don't even know what that character is called in the upper left corner. Um, you can create little code fences and post code in here. It's not the best for that, but it is usable. So this is where we propose to start and let everybody in and go in and make some stone soup out of it.
John, is it possible if you had a Python script rather than copy and paste the whole script, is it possible to attach a file somewhere, or does it support that?
So let's try. The file attachment capabilities here are pretty limited. And so you can see the controls here. It's way at the bottom. You can upload things. Um, let's see. I don't know what I have here. Um, if I have anything handy. Probably not on this computer. Uh, we'll have to play with it. Let's call that a research project amongst us.
Okay.
Um, I have found better success with putting links into external places. And one of the things I would like to do is if we hit our head on certain functions of this forum, we could also stand up a more of a proper a collaborative notes site, which we might know as a wiki, but something related to a wiki where we could put larger things in. But you could put pretty good sized scripts in here too, in the code fences. Um, you know, and maybe we could do presentations on things like GitHub eventually, so people can get taught up on that. Hopefully this will turn into an educational exercise for a lot of people. So,
I added a test presentation to see what would happen on your end to see if it showed up or alerted you or anything. Yeah. So it made
so
it,
yeah,
so
I don't didn't get the alert. I should have though.
well, that's all what I was just about to ask, whether there's settings to say, when somebody posts on my thread that I started or a thread that I found that I'm interested in, can I say, alert me when somebody posts on that?
So here in my profile, there is some of that set. This is supposed to allow, I think a pop-up to occur. Maybe I have it blocked in this browser. I'm not sure when certain things happen, and I can disable or enable that. Renames a discussion I started, replies to one of my posts. I'm supposed to be getting an email and a prompt in my browser somehow. So there are some user level controls for all this, but whatever you did didn't trigger it, at least in this session. So
So we can play around with that a little bit more. Maybe maybe we can develop a short discussion around how to use this. And
yep,
as and that gotta be a first place for people to go, just so they understand what functionality we do have in it before they start hitting it harder. And we can test and make sure the alerts and stuff are working. Um,
yep.
because that's kind of key. Because if you don't know that somebody's answered your question, you might not get around to looking for 2 weeks, and which kind of defeats the purpose. We want something that's a little bit more immediate um, that
In
as
prior testing, I
collaborators
did
we
get
know.
emails when I answered myself, so I'm hoping that's still working, but it will definitely test it.
Yeah.
I was just setting up a profile, and it does look like a lot of the email notifications are off by default. So I think it's just a matter of turning them on. I think that's the issue.
You're probably right, and I've got two accounts, so I may have done that accidentally. Yeah, yeah.
And users would need to sign themselves up, correct? We wouldn't be able to just add people from like mailing list or uh,
Uh,
registrations.
this is the rather busy board. There's probably a way to upload lists. So this is the back end, for example. There's a manual way to do it. There's probably a batch upload in here somewhere I can find. I don't know. I'll take a look.
It
Probably
is
better
pretty
to look.
simple. I think it asked me three questions. It was a username, an email, and a password, and I was signed in. So it was pretty simple.
Yeah.
If it lets anybody register, I guess we probably need to kind of keep an eye on it so that the bots and people from wherever across the world aren't hitting it looking for security weaknesses and things like that. So
Yeah, I have a lot of that stuff turned down right now, but we can ratchet it up as we go. So,
I don't know if there's a way you can limit it to um, users in the United States or North America or something like that, just to cut down the cut down the garbage that comes in from elsewhere. We had a piece of software that we implemented 13 years ago, and about 5 or 6 years ago, it got slammed like hundreds of garbage account registrations every day. It was getting down to like, dozens per hour. So it can get overwhelming if we don't lock that down.
Yeah, I don't know that this has this, which tells us where user's IP is from, but it doesn't look like it's necessarily blocking anything.
Maybe in that list of add-ons that you were showing.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now here is I drag everybody through this, but um, yeah,
Well, we can look
yeah,
into that later. We don't need to
yeah.
do that now, but so this would be one of the ways we want to support main GIS user group and our friends. I don't know that we're going to preclude people who are not main GIS user group members. We haven't really talked about that, have we, Becky?
No, not really.
We've been pretty open in other things to non-members.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're not, as main JS user group, I'm on the board, and we're not really trying to build any kind of empire or financial juggernaut or anything. It's all about getting information out and getting people to collaborate and stuff. So we've been pretty open, allowing people to attend lunch and learns, even though they're not members and things like that. So that's one method. So Becky, I saw you put the URL in the chat, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Um, so we could probably shoot out an email to everybody who's expressed interest as well. Um, we can do that maybe in the coming days and see, try to get people to sign up and utilize it, and we'll, you know, work on learning more about what we can do with it. But at least it's a place you can post something and let it sit and see if anyone answers. Then the other, and then of course we want to, so, uh, in addition to the web forum, we want to be able to have open discussions, and that's kind of maybe where we're at now. Unless John, you have anything else you want to show on that?
No, I think it's let's just get started using it. Think other
Yeah.
things it'll refine itself. So.
If anybody else has a question about it, now's a good time.
Hmm.
All right. Um, I, for one, I've got a couple things I want to post in there. I'm just kind of buried right now in a couple projects I have to get done, but uh, I should be posting a couple things that I'm doing. I've got a, I've got a little script that takes, if you're doing tax maps, you have parcel hooks. When you had a single parcel that's split by a road, and you put a hook between the two so that it's all part of the same parcel. Well, I wrote a little script that takes all you do is you put a single line segment between the two. And what it does is it takes that line segment and it generates the hooks on the ends automatically. So you don't have to try to make them look all the same by hand or whatever. And invariably, they end up, the ones you made today look kind of different from the ones you made a week ago, So for more consistency, you could just draw the one line and generate the hooks on the end, the barbs on the end, and they'll all look pretty much the same. So that's one thing I was thinking of posting up there for other people to take advantage of. And we'll see what else. So on an open, we're kind of part two of the agenda, open discussion forum. Uh, so this is kind of free form. If anybody on the call right now has any particular QGIS questions or about QGIS itself or about how we can support each other, this is the time to do that, to bring that up.
Well, I have
Anna?
an
Oh,
odd
Steve.
little bug thing that I came across, which I thought was interesting. Um, I had what 3.4, I think it was point 0.7 installed, and I got the little notice saying there was an update. So I updated to point 0.13. But when I did that, it didn't delete, it didn't uninstall point 0.7 version. So I had two versions running at the same time, which I didn't notice because they both worked, except for some of the plugins wouldn't work on the old version. And I didn't notice that my shortcut was to the old version. So
Oh,
I spent like 3 weeks trying to figure out why the georeferencing tool wouldn't work. And it was driving me crazy because it didn't tell you what was wrong. It just said, I can't do it.
Hmm.
And I went to the point where I was like, okay, I'm just going to install it and reinstall it. Clearly, there's something wrong. And that's when I noticed I had two versions. As soon as I uninstalled the old version, everything worked fine. So,
you're using Windows, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I haven't noticed that problem on the Mac. Anyone else seen that?
I've seen that a little bit, and I've done it to myself, and I immediately recognize the problem, and I do what you did, Stephen, and I uninstall versions until I get things working again. There is a degree of sharing that goes on between the versions. They're not perfectly isolated, although in theory you're supposed to be able to run them in parallel. In fact, as I was testing version 4, which I thought for sure would be an isolated instance, it seemed to be a little bit of overlap there too. Maybe it was just something in the paths in the system level. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it was connected because all of my plugins installed in the new version. So it looked identical unless you went to the help screen and looked at the about, and it was like, oh, well, wait a minute, why do I have two in here? What what happened?
Which installer did you use?
Whatever the native one is on their site. It said install it, so I just clicked the button.
Okay, there's
Um,
two that actually they present to you that way, and I definitely prefer to use the OSGeo Advanced installer.
mhm.
For me, it's easier to upgrade it that way because it'll
Okay.
overwrite into the same directory every time,
Okay. Yeah,
as
that's
opposed
good
to
to know.
creating new directory, new installs. Yeah.
Yep.
So
I,
is
it,
that, I've seen that OSGO. Um, is that the one, the installer you get if you go to their website, if go to qgis.org and do the download from there?
I think it offers you both depending on where you look. I think that there was certainly for Windows, there's a more of a straightforward, just next, next, next installer. And then somewhere on that page, it's been a little while since I've been to it, there is something called the OSGeo Network Installer. And the beauty of that one is that it also will install a copy of the installer itself, and you can open it up in advanced mode and say, upgrade me. And it will always go and fetch the latest stuff, and it will only update the things that need updating. And I don't know about the experience on the Mac or on Linux, but on Windows, that's how that works. And it also gives you access to other utilities that are adjacent to QGIS in there. So, for example, if you just want to run, there's even some web server stuff in there you can run. But if you just want to say run command line tools, you don't want to, it's not, you don't want the full-blown GIS, you can just put those in. So, or install grass or not install grass or things like that. So maybe that's a topic we could do a presentation on. If I get a clean machine running, we could walk people through installing it to get people
Well,
started.
I've pointed quite a few people towards using QGIS, and honestly, I've had very little feedback that they've had problems installing.
Yeah. Until you
It
get to
seems
where
to be
Steven was.
maybe it's a Belfast thing, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
it could be. It could be the button clickers missed the button, so too. But I'd throw that out there if you all of a sudden because it was weird. I wasn't getting errors and it installed fine, but then it just the tool would open, everything would work until the point where you hit execute, and it would go through the process and say, "No, I can't do it."
On
So
the
I
Mac,
assumed it was something I did. So
on the Mac, I've been pretty good about, keeping current. I have a tendency not to jump at the latest as soon as it comes out because inevitably there's still some bug in there and has to get ironed out. So I tend to lag behind, a little bit. But I have not had any problem at all on the Mac with regards to uh, two installations of the same software. I do have that currently with a couple pieces of software not related to QGIS, so it's not a OS X thing um, because OS X will let you install multiple versions of the same software.
Yeah. There's a
It,
lot
it,
fewer shared libraries in Mac stuff. It's more the app bundle's a little more encapsulated. So,
yeah, yeah. Any other topics people experience they had that they're wondering about?
well, I will say that. Oh, sorry, Anna.
Go ahead, Anna.
Well, hi, it's nice to meet everybody, and this is my first meeting for the main user group, so thanks for having me. I appreciate the install. I actually just installed QGIS today. I have used it before, but in my previous work, and now I'm kind of freelancing in a way. So I had just downloaded it onto my current computer. So the tip about OS Geo Advanced, I will take, and I think I'm probably gonna uninstall the 3.44 that I just downloaded, the LTR, the long-term one, for that reason. So thank you for that. That's
Yeah.
already a helpful tip. I teach marine and coastal GIS and remote sensing, and
Oh,
so my question. So I teach back in San Francisco where I was living for a long time, but now I live in Maine and I'm trying to integrate Maine stuff into my class. And my question is, does anybody work with, and I don't even know because I haven't tried it yet, but does anybody work with remotely sensed imagery in QGIS? That's something I'm trying to develop a little bit more in my class.
I don't use any, like Landsat or things like that. But I do use the USGS 3DEP, which is all LiDAR based. um, elevation model data, and that works quite well. As well as there's a lot of REST services for orthophotography. I use that quite a lot. I do find, and maybe somebody else here have an idea about this. I do find when I have like the state ortho photos and sometimes the USGS 3 dep, I'm using them for quite a while. Um, if the if the usage is heavy on those servers, those remote servers, wherever they are, um, it seems to go, QGIS seems to have some kind of timeout issue where it will feel like it's just completely locked up. It's not really, it's just like stuck in a mode of waiting for response from the REST service. And and it can get to the point like I can usually, if I've got a layer open for editing, I can usually save that and maybe turn the editing mode off, and I can save the project. But then I really just can't do anything else at that point, and I end up having to force quit the program. Does anybody else have that problem, or is it just me?
I haven't tried.
I haven't tried yet either.
So I use the ortho and 3dep. For those of you not familiar with 3dep, the USGS has had a program where they're flying LiDAR and processing that to create a 3D digital elevation model, and it's hill shaded already for you. They've got multiple products, but I use the 3dep because it's kind of ready to go as is. And I use it quite a lot primarily in the tax mapping work I do because I can see most of the time I can see if there's a stone wall, which you can't see in the ortho photo, but you can, but a lot of times they'll pop right out in the 3D data. Um, and so it's really kind of critical, but then I get stuck with this problem where I have to force quit. I It's probably happened, oh, probably twice this morning before I lost the internet at my house. So
Hmm.
um, if you're using it a lot, it seems to happen. And I've searched on the web trying to find answers, and
Have
uh,
you posted into the QGIS user mailing list?
no, I haven't. Probably should do that. QGIS.
They're pretty tolerant of, I mean, they answer all kinds of questions. Most of the developers listen to that. So,
Oh, okay. It just seems like I just wish I understand the timeout issue because that's a we have software we've written that you have a problem because the database times out. So I understand that side of it. But it'd be nice in QGIS if they gave you a way to kill it, say, stop trying to load this thing because it's obviously, stuck in this situation. So yeah, I will definitely write something into that.
I'll put up, I'm going to start. I was just thinking we need to have a section in the forum for links, and I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
post a link on how to get into that. So,
We might not, I don't know for other people who are looking for REST services and things like that of data that's out there that's useful. Might be nice if we can put links in there for that so that you can grab that, establish a connection in the data connections dialog, and then you're up and running rather than force people to try to figure it out. Like if you look at the states stuff now and the geo library, they've got hundreds and hundreds of entries, and they have names that just don't mean anything to anybody except for the person who put them up there. They're like code words and stuff, and there's probably useful stuff in there, but it's not useful if you can't figure out where it is or what it is.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and I should point out too, and it's in the, I did post a link on version 4 QGIS, but Anna in particular, make sure you don't grab the version 4 release just yet. And you went the LTR, great. But yeah, 4 is not ready for prime time. Although this past week I have been watching the plugin count tick up in version 4. So just in the last couple of days, I've added 50 plugins. They've got a ways to go to get up to the 2,000 that are in the 3.44 era. But
My understanding, I looked at this in the last few days. The LTR version is due this fall. Is that correct?
probably, yeah, I forget. I don't have the roadmap in my head, but they'll let 4 mature for a little while before they make it the LTR. Um, but the improvements are going to be important, including for the Mac. Apparently, it's supposed to improve the Mac experience. So,
Yeah, a lot of it sounded like kind of back end stuff that will improve performance, but it's not necessarily going to change the interface much. Although they did mention in the stuff I was reading that uh, some of the dialogues for the tools they're going to clean them up some and make them some places where they're not consistent. I guess they're going to try to make them a little bit more consistent.
yeah, I think
That's
they
what
did
I
do a
read.
little bit of that. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So who knows? Maybe they'll fix the problem that I'm talking about uh, in this new version. It would be kind of nice.
Yeah. And I should point out too, and I try to remind myself of this, that and I'm going to put something in the forum that although QGIS is free to use, it's not free to make. And so I always contribute every year. I throw them 50 or $100 for the privilege of using it, but make your donations to the project.
Do you have any idea where they're at? I mean, physically located, the main people. It seems to be like Eastern Europe. It's where a
Well,
lot of
that's
those
true
people
for a
are.
lot of open source projects if you live in open source software land, right? So Europe is more of a increasingly a hub for a lot of open source stuff. And so, yeah, a lot of developers will be European and and things like that. Uh, the I think the founder of it is Australian.
Oh,
Tim Sutton. I can't remember now. One of those videos I posted has some of these names appearing, and there is a little bit of history somewhere out there, but it wasn't necessarily born in Europe, but that's where some of the gravity is. But it's obviously a global project. There's a large contingent of folks from Africa contributing to it, at least
hmm,
from a documentation standpoint. So, yeah.
interesting. Anybody else have something they want to ask about or experience they've had that would be useful?
I'm curious to know what people are using it for and how they're using it. Hey, is this just like desktop utility, making little pieces of data? Is it 100% your job? Are you using it against database servers or things like that? I don't really use it for anything serious anymore. I don't do GIS professional anymore after doing it for decades. So I just sort of play around with it, try to push the boundaries of my knowledge all the time. But
I can start. I I use QGIS at this point almost exclusively. I do occasionally have to go into ARC. I don't, in my business, Spatial, I don't actually own a copy of ARC, but I have customers who have it that if I need to use it, I can, typically for something of theirs. So, but I find that, for the municipal GIS work I do a lot of railroad related stuff. Um, I really have not found too many barriers, and for the last couple of years, like I said, I use it almost exclusively at this point, and so those are the areas I'm working in, and a lot of it's data preparation, but it's also, especially on the municipal side, it's preparing map atlases of the tax maps or particular maps like a shoreland zoning and things like this, and so I give it a pretty good workout, and I don't know that I found all the problems, but there aren't that many that I've, experienced constantly, and I brought up one of them. Somebody else?
cool. Steven, what are you doing with it?
Oh, well, I was waiting for everybody else, but I'm the assessor in the city of Belfast who had very minimal GIS. Well, Mike, we were a client of Mike, or they were, I should say. Well, we still are. And I came from Bar Harbor, who ate the Esri Kool-Aid a long time ago, and so that was there. And when I moved to Belfast, obviously, you call up Esri and say, "Hey, I want ArcMap," and then, "No, we don't make that anymore." And
Hmm.
they have to pry that out of my cold dead hands. So, and to be honest, ArcGIS Pro and QGIS is like going from an Android to an Apple for me at this point because I know where everything is in ArcMap. So I figured if I got to relearn what I'm doing, I might as well start with the free one. And with Mike's help, he set up some stuff for us and got us the basics started. So I can start doing that, and that's kind of where we're at. We're building a GIS in Belfast right now, so this is going to be our desktop solution, along with everything else that we have. So
Oh, I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, one
yeah.
of the Steve didn't mention, but one of the things I've done with them and with a couple others is moving from collections of shape files and file geodatabases and everything else under the sun, uh, which gets really confusing as time goes on because you end up with multiple versions of things everywhere, to using PostGIS, which is built on top of PostgreSQL. So it's an SQL type database, relational database that's up in the cloud somewhere. The particular one we're using is Supabase. And um, I was thinking at some point, one of these meetings, I might make that a topic and show what we're doing with that and how With a few little differences. For the most part, it's pretty seamless, and you can have one official version of your data somewhere that everybody can access, no matter where they are in the world, um, without relying on shape files that are scattered all over an organization's computers, which is often the case, right? Right, Steve?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, that's something we could do if people are interested. I can share my experiences with that.
Great. Create a topic in the forum. Get some votes on it or something.
Yeah. Hey, Anna, you mentioned doing stuff in marine resources, was it? Um,
Yeah, yeah.
we might pick on you sometime in the for main GIS user group. We're always looking for presentations, so if you have anything interesting that you might want to talk about there, we're always looking for presentations. That goes for everybody here. Um, and we have pretty good meetings. We typically get like 80 people coming to them, and
Nice.
they're all people who really are GIS um, people or need to use GIS in their work and stuff. It's not like going to some conferences where GIS is just one little piece and you get, I don't know, there may be 400 people at the conference, but there's only like 50 that are interested in what you're talking about. This is going to be, you go to main GIS user group and present, you can be sure that everybody there is really interested in what you're talking about. So
Mhm.
it's fun. We have a good time.
I was hoping to go to the meeting this past year, but I was away, I think. So I'm hoping I'll be around for the annual meeting.
So you said you're on the education side. I mean, what can you explain a little
Yeah,
bit more what you do?
yeah. So I teach marine and coastal GIS and remote sensing. It's in a GIS certificate program, so a professional certificate program. And right now, I'm still using a lot of the data from my master's degree work, where I was mapping seabird foraging habitat. So I'm breaking this. So the first three labs of the class, I have students looking at just a field collected data set of count data, and they end up working with one of it's all with Esri software for that part of the class. So we use ArcGIS Pro, uh, and there's they one of the sort of nice things about ArcPro is they've integrated a generalized linear model tool in there. So when I did my initial master's work, I was toggling between all these different softwares. So like I was using Stata for the GLM part, but so Esri has a built-in GLM that I have students work with and just kind of uh, make predictions about where the seabird foraging habitat is likely to be based on the count data. So it's predictive modeling. And then I it's been like 10 years. So I'm hoping eventually to migrate a little bit away from that because it's just I mean I learn something new every time I look at it. And every time the software changes, there's new tools you can work with and adapt it to. So I don't think I'm going to change that part of the exercise uh, to QGIS yet, unless there's uh, GLMs built into QGIS. I just haven't explored yet. Maybe there are. So I got to take a look and see. Um, and then the other parts of the lab. So I moved back to Maine in 2022. And have been kind of navigating Maine coast and having fun just exploring since I've been back. There, I grew up in Maine, and so now I'm that's what I mean when I say back. But over this past summer, I met someone from the Maine Historical Preservation group who's an archaeologist. So I started getting really into marine archaeology if I could. But
Hmm.
so up in Jonesport, they think they may have discovered a Revolutionary War era shipwreck. So I was like, oh, maybe I can work this in. And so I met with I'm blanking on her name right now, but I met with the archaeologist on that project this past summer and talked to her a little bit about that and went on a different dig site, but I might try to keep building that relationship and that type of material into my class material. So, and then QGIS. The last time I taught it, the class, I have these old R um, labs that I just like really didn't update as much as I could have, and I don't. I think I at this stage would rather replace the R work with QGIS because I think
And
it'll
Python.
be a little more beneficial for the students if they're, yeah. I mean, you can do a lot with R, which is great, and it's open source for the most part too. But I think QGIS might be the way forward, and I'm more curious about it than R right now.
Yeah. QGIS and Python is a lot more portable, mixed with notebooks of various flavors. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Those are all the things that you talked about, I think are great candidates for presentations. So uh, I hope you're agreeable to doing that at some point on whatever you prefer. They all sound really interesting. Um, Kathleen, oh, lost Kathleen. Okay, Corey.
Hi there.
Hey.
I actually just walked back into my office, so whatever you've been talking about, I missed.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll come right back to you because Anna, did you just raise your hand real quick? Or no? Okay. Um, Corey, we were just kind of going around and finding out what kinds of things people are working on, just as you know, get a better understanding of who we are, what our experiences are, and how we're using QGIS. Just kind of curious what do you do and how do you use QGIS or look to use QGIS if you're not already?
Okay. I work for Chimbro. I actually work for the Chimbro Development Corporation, which is a small group of us that work on developing projects that we might later build. We go out and buy property and permit the project and so forth before we turn it over to the construction company. Um, but that's primarily what we do, mostly energy projects, wind farms, solar farms, things like that. Um, Long-term projects, usually 2 or 3 years at a time. Um, a lot of transmission projects. I worked, if anybody remembers, back in 2000. Well, I worked on it from 2006 to 2008 with the MPRP project for CMP, the reliability project. We did all the permitting and planning for that. I had 6 people doing mapping for me on that. But so I've been using ArcMap since 2006. Uh, I have not used QGIS at all. I would like to just to have it basically a cross reference, use it on personal projects and things like that. Just expand my reach a little bit. That's primarily where I am.
Yeah, I think you'll find that there are things that ESRI definitely does or does better, and there are things that QGIS, frankly, I find better.
Yeah.
Um, so overall, for me personally, it's come down more QGIS, uh, if for no other reason than it's free. Uh, but we can also point you to resources to get you up and running. There's certainly a lot on the internet that you can look at. And I've done 2 lunch and learns for Maine GIS user group that are online, and you can look for those in YouTube.
Yep.
And the first one is very introductory. It's just here's what it is, here's some basic things about it, kind of thing. So, something like that to help you get started. Um, and where you already use ARC, there's a lot of stuff that's the same but different. You know what I
Yep.
mean? If you
Yep.
understand the concept,
Right.
once you see what the syntax is, if you will, in
Hmm.
QGIS, like where is the button or what do they call this? Um,
Yeah.
then it should come pretty easy to you once you
Great.
figure those things out.
Yeah, and yeah, after I mentioned that, I should mention I also have two daughters that are both in college, and they're both semi-interested in this. Especially my youngest is she's studying archaeology at Dartmouth, and she's going to be taking a GIS course in the next term. So she's very interested in this, and my other daughter is at Maine Maritime studying marine biology, and she has an interest in drones and mapping as well.
Great.
Oh, that's awesome. Jason, maybe he stepped out.
Mhm.
Oh, there he is. How about you, Jason? Oh, he came off mute. Jason, if you're saying anything, we can't hear you. Hmm. Must be some issue on his end. Uh, does anybody else here know Jason? Okay. I don't either, so I can't even pretend to speak for him. Uh, all right. Um, so actually, oh, we're running out of time. I didn't realize it goes pretty fast. So are there just quickly from amongst us, are there any particular topics that would be, good to address next time where we can actually get into a particular topic about QGIS, potentially something where you can learn something new about it that you don't already know, or some kind of problem solving issue that you'd like to have addressed more deeply, more thoroughly.
I'd be curious to know more about how QGIS could integrate with PostGIS and Postgres. Because where I used to work, one of the other faculty, not me, would use Postgres and PostGIS, but integrated with the spatial database through ArcGIS. So
Cool.
I've never seen it used with QGIS, so now I'm curious how that could work.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I'd be happy to address that if that's something other people are interested in. Absolutely.
I'd like to
I
see
see
that,
some
even though
nodding.
I do it at home all the time, but
You use PostGIS?
yeah, I've got a couple servers here in the house. So
Oh, you get your own
yeah,
servers even.
yeah,
Yeah, I use Supabase as well as Retool, but I don't use the Retool database with PostGIS because I don't even know if they allow you to do that. So I use Supabase, which they already have it installed. You just have to enable it.
yep.
So it's really cool. You
I
you
saw
can
your
get up and running
presentation and
really
I
quickly.
tried it out, but I didn't want to incur a bill, so I turned it off. I'd
Uh,
like to see personally. I always struggle with doing map layouts in QGIS, and
okay.
so I'd be curious to see some production grade output from people and how they get
How
there.
how far have you gotten into that? Is it
I don't know. I
long
always get
term?
frustrated that once I get a real basic layout set, I'm never really happy with the output. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Um, yeah, that's something we could definitely do. Um, I've helped Steve with that, and Steve's done a lot and figured out quite a bit on his own too. But I do that every day, the map layouts, and there it's very powerful. But you know, of anything that's powerful, there's a lot of things that to figure out how to do, you know.
Yeah,
But I make output, and Steve's seen it. I make output for these towns that um, it's every bit as good as anything coming out of ArcGIS.
that's great.
So, and with, with no, I don't know, once you figure out the little keys to it, it's pretty cool. So
Nice.
we can talk about that.
Something that might be interesting is kind of a beginner's thing is, the 10 best plugins to add to your new QGIS form. Because, yeah, I mean, as you already mentioned, there's thousands of plugins, and a lot of times you've got 20 plugins that all do the same thing. So which one's the best? Which that can be a loaded question. But I went on YouTube and started looking around. You can do a top 10 best plugins for QGIS, and you'll get a whole bunch of YouTube videos. So I've downloaded several. Actually, I've downloaded too many because now it's slowing down a little bit, so I got to uninstall some of them. But just like the base map, a really good base map plugin and that kind of stuff, or the DEM information, where's a good place to plug in to do that. That kind of stuff might be interesting because that's one thing I've noticed with QGIS is you first load it and you go, oh my God, what is this? Right. It's like, and I'm a GIS guy, and I kind of went, ooh, okay, well, how do I do this? And it's like, and then you kind of have to hunt around, and so some of those really handy plugins that might be a good thing to
Yeah, that's a
talk
that's a
about.
great idea because there's a couple plugins that I use that I just really can't live without.
Yeah.
Uh, one of them is the plugin that I use to do Kogo for entering deed descriptions, entering the courses, and so I can build parcels accurately.
Yeah.
And that it's not perfect, but I figured out the issues. I think it was written by somebody in Europe. So it's it's not exactly adapted for the US and Canada market, but it's close and I use it constantly. So that's a great topic. Any others?
I want to chime in, Corey, if your daughter is at Maine Maritime and into drones, I'm super curious about underwater drones and what's possible with that. I have yet to actually buy one myself, but if your daughter would knows anything about it, I'd be really curious to hear
Yeah.
hear from her.
Are you at Maine Maritime also, or?
No, I'm in Maine. I teach marine GIS and remote sensing.
Okay.
Um, and I've worked with aerial imagery from flying drones, but since my subject matter is the marine environment, I'm starting to get a little more curious about like there are things on Amazon you can buy, but I'm a little reluctant to
You,
try them
you know
out
what?
yet. So I,
Yeah.
if anyone knows anybody who has worked with underwater drones and GIS, I'd be curious about that
So
because I'm trying to do research on it.
we had a presenter, oh, this last time around, was it, Becky? The guy who's running that project to map the whole Gulf of Maine.
Oh, Jesse Miner from
Yeah,
DMR, Department of Marine
yeah.
Resources.
And one of the things he talked about is up till now they've used a system where they basically drop a sensor straight down and map wherever, points. But he was talking about using underwater drones to do the same thing, but they could cover whole big areas much more efficiently. So there's somebody right there, right here in Maine, that's doing this. So Jesse Miner, yeah, I couldn't remember his name. Well, it was a very interesting talk that he gave.
Hmm.
Awesome. I'm sad I missed it.
Um, I think we have it. I can email you. I think we have the PowerPoint that he used for it. I'll also point out I work for the Department of Environmental Protection. We have a marine unit, and they're not using underwater drones. They're using aerial photography, but they're doing a big project on eelgrass and seagrass bed mapping throughout the entire coast. So it's split into a 5-year cycle. They do like the South Coast, Mid Coast, Central, and then they'll go back and repeat. and there's a lot of really nice imagery of that now available through the GL library. And so that's going to be a nice big data set with reproduction over the 5-year cycle. So if you're looking for other data sets to play with.
Great, thank you.
Corey, I know you're just getting introduced to QGIS, but is there any particular thing that you're interested in that we could help out?
Yeah, I don't think I've delved into it enough to have any real questions. I've just kind of opened it up and looked around a couple times. I haven't really used it, but I'm sure I will have some, but not yet.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, I was thinking kind of the same thing because I am unfortunately well embroiled in the ArcGIS universe, working for the state. But I know a lot of the people who were on the first meeting were also from the state and are sort of trying to do that transition from Esri to, or to supplement with QGIS. So I wouldn't want to necessarily turn this forum into like a tutorial on how to learn QGIS, but if you could have links to things like that in the website, I think that would be really helpful.
Okay. Well, we're past our hour. Is there any last things, or are we ready to knock off? Well, I guess hearing nothing, I hope we're going in the right direction for you. And if you have any ideas or topics, but ideas about how we can do this, by all means, let us know. My, I guess we could shoot out a email with some contacts to the people who have signed up about QGIS. By all means, let us know, or let MEGUG generally know. We'll catch those because both Becky and I are on the board, so we'd catch those kinds of emails if there's something in particular you're interested in, or if you have something that you want to present and talk about, some experience or something that you've had one of those eureka moments. You found a plugin that does something so cool. Like I found one. I did we went out to Jewel Island in Casco Bay last summer and took hundreds and hundreds of photographs of the old coastal artillery remnants from the World War II submarine spotting facility there. And then I got back and I'm like, well, how am I going to keep this sorted out? What I took where? I knew the GPS was recorded with them, but how am I going to actually use this? So I got thinking, gee, I wonder if there's a plugin. Well, it turns out there is a plugin. And all I had to do was point this thing at the plugin, at the directory where the photos are, and it created a layer showing me where every single photo was taken and time and all that information. It's like, this is fantastic. It just saved me a huge amount of work. So that was one of my eureka moments. It's like, wow, this is great. Anyway, with that, I guess we can bring this to a close. I really appreciate you guys coming on, and tell your friends and your coworkers. The more the merrier.
Great. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.